How important is it for you to love what you do? Would it make everything right if you did? Some of you are saying to yourself, "Well, I don't love my job, and if I did, it would make everything better." Well, I'm not totally against that, but let's get our feet grounded in reality. And this really applies to a lot of things across the board. It could be the sum total of the decisions you've made in life. And you look at where you're at, the station that you find yourself in, and you say, "I'm very unhappy because I'm not enchanted anymore. I don't have that rapturous feeling of joy that signifies that all is well, that the wind has been at my back." Well, I want to give you a word of caution today, and perhaps a different way of thinking about all of this. Because if you think that you're going to find peace and contentment based upon how you feel, and what you think it ought to be like, then you're going to find yourself to be very unhappy. You're going to be very disappointed, and you can fool yourself into believing about anything you want. Really, I mean, it's a matter of installing the software, and then you're from there, your mind, your body just does whatever you tell it to do because this is what you programmed yourself for. But if you can do that in the wrong ways, you can also do it in the right ways. Okay, here's an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, here's a man who loved what he did. He loved his job, but he went down the wrong path. All right, listen to this. If you ever make 250,000 pounds on a drug deal, resist the urge to post a picture of yourself and your piles of cash on social media. A 24-year-old Albanian criminal named Olsi, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this right, Baluli? Olsi Baluli couldn't help himself. In 2014, he tweeted an incriminating selfie from his flat in England with the caption, "I love my job," with all the dollar signs as exclamation points. Unfortunately for Baluli, his posts made the National Crime Agency's job a lot easier. After seeing the photo, the cops set up surveillance on Baluli, and a few weeks later, they arrested him and two other men during a raid in which they seized the cash along with $4 million worth of cocaine and heroin. You might say to yourself, "Well, Greg, that's kind of ridiculous. It's not a real job." Well, it was to him. Certainly was to him. He even said, "I love my job." What was he chasing there? Well, let me see. There was cocaine, heroin, money, all the things that he thought would fulfill him, would be strong indicators that he had arrived. It's not much different than a lot of us, right? It just, the things that we're chasing might look different, but he's still chasing, basically the same thing. And he loved his job, and up until he found himself behind bars. And I'm not so sure that he was loving it anymore. And this is what I want to convey to you is that you can learn to pretty much love anything. Look at the numbers of relationships that people have gotten into, maybe the ones that you've gotten into that turned sour, and you said to yourself, "Well, I really loved her." Or some of you ladies watching this might think to yourself, "Well, I really loved him, but ooh, it went south really fast, or it went south at some point, and they turned into a completely different person." And you the matter of loving something, or what we call loving something, doesn't always stay. It's not always as firm as what we'd like to think, and we think we deserve more. Well, the problem with loving something is, in terms like that, is that we set ourselves up for disenchantment. You're setting yourself up to find yourself behind bars. I don't care what you do. You can go to all the seminars, watch all the videos you want, and if you think that you're going to find it when you leave there, you may momentarily. You'll chase for a little bit, and that'll be exhilarating. hmm Yeah, it will. It'll feel pretty good up until it doesn't. And then what do? Well, learn to love what you do, but loving something that you're doing isn't all as important as what you might think. Here's the trick. It's really not a trick. Learn to be content with where you're at. All right? Learn to be content with where you're at, and you will be happy. You can be happy, but you don't have to be in love with what you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing. All these people who say that you should stop doing what you're doing, find a way out of eliminating your day job, and find the thing that you love to do and do that. And then you'll be happy. You'll never work a day in your life. I'm here to tell you that's just absolutely not true. No, it's not. It's not true at all. Everything turns into work, especially if it's worthwhile, and it should. You you should put a certain amount of elbow grease behind whatever it is you're doing if you want to become good at it, if you want it to be meaningful, if you want to share it with the world, and you shouldn't rely upon how you feel about it all the time because you're not gonna love it all the time. I don't care what you're doing. I love to play the piano. I do. I love it. Well, not all the time. No, not all the time. I don't. But I still work really hard at it because I know it's worthwhile. Ask yourself what you're doing is worthwhile. Is it right? Is it moral? Are you sustaining yourself and your family in a legal, viable way? Is that really all so bad? You said, but you don't know my job. You could like your job. I'm not talking about loving it. You don't have to be enthralled by what you're doing. You could like your job. You could like what you do by just telling yourself that you do, changing your attitude, put a bound in your step, you know, and start finding out a little bit more about what you're actually doing. You know, work like you're getting paid twice as much as what you are. The reason why I say this is because this goes a long ways back with me. When I was a teenager, I worked at McDonald's, and this is back in the '80s. Okay, and McDonald's was a lot different. All right, and back then I was making $4.25 an hour, and that I think that if you can work at McDonald's and put up with that kind of garbage, you can work anywhere. Every other job after that seems nice. It really does. But I hated it so much for a while. And the customers were rude. The managers were mean. They were never happy. Everybody hated their job. So you worked around a bunch of people who definitely were not following their passion, didn't like anything they did. But I certainly wasn't either. It's not what I wanted for my life. But I asked myself one day. I said, what if I was stuck here? Stuck. I mean, like, what if I had to work here for the rest of my life? Would I just be miserable? I've got to find a way to be happier. I started pretending that I was making twice as much as I was, and I was giving my employer that. I determined that I was going to give my employer twice as much as I was making. And you know what? You know what that did for me? I started taking pride in my job. I worked back in the grill area, and I had that place spotless. And the managers would come back there and be impressed. Everybody was. I'd make the sandwiches picture perfect, and I mean that. And they would come out on top of the bin, and they would wrap them up there, and the customers would make remarks on how their sandwiches look so good. And I took pride in what I did. Is what you do sustainable? Is it taking care of you? Is it legal? Is it moral? Is it doing what it's supposed to do? Can you take pride in what you do? All right. If you can do that, you can learn to start being content because you'll start to realize that you can do this anywhere. And I mean anywhere, and things will start to change for you. It's more important to learn to enjoy being where you're at no matter what you're doing. Because I guarantee you right now, you could put me anywhere in the world doing anything, just about anything, as long as it was moral, as long as it was legal, as long as I could take care of myself. I would find a way to be happy. Heck, there are prisoners of war, stories of men that were prisoners of war back in World War II that learned to be happy even in the midst of their crisis. I've read stories, I've read books about this, but they determined that they would be. They didn't feel like they had to be in love with what they were doing. They didn't feel like they had to be in love with where they were at. And they could never be trapped behind the bars of disenchantment. No, they could never be trapped behind the bars of disenchantment because they had made a decision, and you can do that too. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the charlatans that are out there on social media. It's okay to pursue something, but everything becomes work after a while. And I've seen plenty of people in my lifetime who have found themselves doing the very thing they've always wanted to do, and they end up hating it because it became a job and it didn't sustain them as well as they thought it was going to. It didn't bring them everything they thought. When in reality, everything was actually much simpler than that. Bloom where you're planted, as they say. All right. I hope that's meant something to you. Now, if you're wanting to know what I have in my beard today, I actually applied Locks Hair Wax Company's beard butter called Chapter 1 Sweet Revenge. And look at this character on here, very John Wick looking skeleton-like figure. And this smells like delicious green apples, dark peppermint, and refreshing eucalyptus. And the green apples really pops in this. It's almost mouth-watering to wear it in your beard. My beard is very nice and soft. In fact, I didn't put any oil or balm or anything. I just applied this beard butter. And if you are interested in getting this for yourself, and I highly recommend it, it's very nice, very nice. This is a 3.5 ounce bottle, okay? And if you want it for yourself, check the description below, follow the link, use my code GregBoss, and you will be able to save 10%. And I think you'll really enjoy it. You can check out everything else they have there too. But in the meantime, guys, think about what I've said today. If you've liked this video, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with your friends and family or with other people who are like-minded. And I think that it could be beneficial to them. All right, I've enjoyed it. I will catch you in the next one. Have a great day. Stay safe out there. Bye-bye.